Yes, we're recording this. Okay. Hey, Lynette. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
I had the camera off so no one can see, but it's.
So you want to see whoever wants to mute themselves, because whether we have cameras on or not. All right. Well, very cool. So let's see who else is coming in. And I know I already received some emails and texts yesterday from some people who were wanting to come, but have appointments. So you're doing clients, which is cool. And then we'll have some people coming in throughout the morning, and we're gonna be cool with that because it's a Wednesday. We're gonna be flexible. And I guess for those of you who are on, if you are new to Zoom or not new to Zoom, I will leave the chat line open so you can type in chat questions, and we can be asking those questions throughout. I'll kind of help facilitate the program throughout the morning, and let our guest host here have their time to talk about their contributions to our morning, which will be, I think, really a super highlight of our week, I think. Let's see how we're doing here on time. Oh, 9:02. Well, how about 9:02? Let's get going. So good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Oh, here's another person coming in. Hold on. So welcome to the world of Zoom. We know Zoom will be great for us, and yet we'll have little quirks and little hiccups in it throughout. So patience is always the key. If there's some background noise, some dogs barking, cats meowing, toilets flushing, we've heard it all. I guess so if you want to mute yourself during this segment, if you're still getting your morning coffee going or doing a client, so be it. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions, but what we're kind of hoping for is, as far as for today's program, is we're going to have our presenters give their 10 or 15 minute talk on their topics, and then we have a segment at the end for Q&A. So we'll definitely get to questions and stuff towards the end. And at the same time, I guess if there's a question that you feel is so important and so pressing, if you happen to unmute yourself and ask, I don't think we'll be too upset about that. So anyhow, so let's, I wrote a few things down because this is over the, this has been about 3 or 4 months coming, trying to put together a program like this. And during the whole COVID experience that we've been through, it was, we wanted to host some sort of event like this to put together some industry people and just some business people to offer some help or support, or just someone to talk to. And it just seemed like something else kept coming up, whether it be, hey, salons can open tomorrow in one region, salons can open tomorrow in another region, that we were just, trying to react so quickly to what was happening during COVID that this kept getting pushed off and kept getting pushed off. So fortunately we're here, which is fantastic. And I want to thank Dale Jinks from Cal for setting this up, because he's the pivotal person in all of this, and we'll be introducing him shortly. Also want to thank our guest, Jeff South from Intrigue Salon in Atlanta, Georgia. If you've never talked to him before or met him before, one of the nicest men you'll ever meet, one of the most passionate people in our industry you'll ever meet, and the most caring and sharing kind of guy. And if you did meet him, we had him come up to our trade show at Turning Stone a couple years in a row to talk about his upgrade menu. And so that's, if you're thinking the guy looks familiar and the name sounds familiar, maybe you saw him at our trade show at Turning Stone over the years. And then Bonnie Bonadeo, who is a real treat to have here as well, who has such an extensive background in our industry and has done so many things for the industry and with the industry, and now is doing coaching and marketing, and I'll let her talk more about that. And just really the insights that she's gonna be able to share is really gonna be fantastic. And then locally, which is really cool, we have Janine Carrera, who Janine actually is our representative from HR Works, which is a HR company that we contract with. And during her time working with us, she's been promoted. She's the director of HR Strategic Services. And what was really great, and I want to thank Steve Newmeyer, the president of Goldwell, New York, for the idea, is when we were talking or getting ready to plan for this event, we knew that some of the questions were going to be HR related. They were going to be COVID related, law related. And I don't know about you, but the frustration I've had over the past several months is I think this may be what I hear. I heard this is going to happen, and all the hearsay stuff and guessing is so frustrating because you as business owners have to make decisions, and you have to make the correct decision, and the correct decision legally, ethically, and morally, all those. And I think that's where with HR Works, it's a national company. And she's our representative here in Rochester, and she's got some great information to share. And I think we'll all agree that if we know the answers to certain things, we'll definitely provide them. But if we don't know the answers to certain things, we're going to let you know we don't know the answer to that. We're not going to do hypotheticals here, I guess, for the most part. And so with that being said, and I guess we can start with, and let me see if my notes here, I wrote a few things down so I don't forget. Naturally, our goal is to be an additional resource for you. And our goal is to have you, have a chance to talk about your concerns, share your concerns, and I think sharing your concerns with some really important people in the industry. And we need all the feedback we can get because we're trying to adapt and we're trying to support your salons and you as best we can. At the same time, we're not seeing you, right? And so we really are kind of guessing at times as far as what we can do to help support you. And that's even something with today, when we get towards the end or even in the chat, if you want to write in, what type of support do you need most as an owner and as from a distributor, from manufacturers, from coaching, from HR, what are the things you need most? Type it into the chat and we can even follow up if we don't have a chance to get to it today. The other thing about this is that, again, we have our 4 presenters. And they've got some really great stuff to talk about. And we'll try to save, if you can, write your questions down and save them towards the end. And we'll have that time for Q&A. And if we don't get to everything, we'll certainly, again, get back to you on this. And the other aspect of this is, let us know how you like today when we're done, because we do want to maybe work on doing these on a regular basis, because I think there's definitely the need for it. This is being recorded, and I'll have to let you know where I put it. Because right now I'm working off my wife's laptop. Mine crashed yesterday, and an iPad and other stuff. So I'll figure out where to put this and wait for Danielle to get back, our social media person, and tell us where to put this, whether it's on YouTube or a Dropbox. We'll let you know. And with that being said, let's get started. So our first guest I'd like to introduce, and I mentioned his name earlier, Dale Jenks. He is the Director of Sales for Independent Distribution with COW. COW is the parent company of Goldwell KMS. And so you kind of see our branding has been evolving over time to where you see COW Professional Services on different headings and different letterhead and stuff like that and cards. But this is Goldwell KMS, and Dale is our guy for Goldwell KMS, and great industry background and just a really super nice guy. And he's the guy who put together this program for us. So I want to thank him for that. And he has some stuff he wanted to share with you about what's happening in the industry across the country and maybe a few other tidbits. So Dale, welcome. Thank you.
Am I sharing here? Let's see.
You can.
All right. I think we're done. Can you see the screen?
You betcha.
Oh, technology. I don't know about everybody on the call, but I can tell you that after March 5th or so, I became a Zoom expert. It is absolutely crazy how much we've done in Zoom so far. So, but as far as, thank you, Ryan, those are very kind words. I was a little jealous when you were introducing Jeff, and you didn't use those same things to me at the very beginning. So you recovered well. And, but thank you. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now. So basically, I'm going to go overview kind of a more of a national scope of what the corporation's doing, COW Corporation. It's kind of interesting, the numbers that I'll share with you. I'll share with you some Goldwell New York numbers, which I'm very ecstatic about. Actually, there's a really cool complementary scenario that will provide Goldwell New York. We will discuss a little bit more of the recovery program, the Siri recovery program that all of you did with Salon Alliance and your redemptions. I'll talk about some of the results there. It's very interesting what the group redeemed through the recovery program that we offered. And just show you some things of where we were on March 2nd when this all shut down for us, travel-wise, to where we are today. So kind of take you on a little bit of a journey if that helps. So I was in New Jersey on March 2nd doing a presentation with another distributor, and I got an email from the company basically telling everybody globally, not just US, but globally, we are grounded. So on March 2nd, that's when we began our journey of working at home. So all Cal employees, a lot of them that had worked in an office, now were working out of their homes. So as all of us know, that was a real significant change. And that just amped up a lot of emotion. That's probably the best way to describe it. But we basically then took those opportunities to be at home and started to develop programs and templates and social media support, business revenue generating programs, virtual education. All of that just started to surface up in the month of March. So we did a lot of development. Virtual education that I've never seen so much virtual education produced by our company. It's absolutely amazing what we've done. But what was interesting about the virtual education was that just because we have an artist or an educator that can present in salon, the presenting online is a whole different ballgame. So we quickly understood that, and we had to do some training and a lot of work to get all of our educators conditioned to teach in front of a screen instead of people. So that was a big learning for us. We created the series that's basically the Salon Industry Recovery Initiative, and that program was basically our Salon Alliance Redemption Program. Most of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with that program. So that was all developed over the last couple months. We had several business webinars and Zoom calls. We had community calls with 14. We had 14 in 1 week, I'll never forget it, and they were an hour and a half long. And we had an average of 100 salons participating in each one of those Zoom calls. I know Jeff and Bonnie were on probably at least half of them. But what I found interesting about the Zoom calls with the owners is that even the owners that were not in a particular market but showed up to support that particular Zoom call, they would call and let me know that they were thrilled to be on it. I was thrilled that they volunteered, but more importantly, they were thrilled to be on it because they were learning as much as they were teaching. And that was the really kind of cool thing. So the community really started to evolve with Goldwell and the respective markets. And then the Zoom calls, the little 4 or 5 salon owners, 2 salon owners, it seemed like we were doing some sort of connection every day in the March, April, May, June timeframe. It has slowed down a little bit. I think people are much busier now, and Zoom is not used quite so much. So, all right. So here's some of the things that we did just to kind of take it. So we put together a lot of social media templates to help you. These are just some of them. I'm not going to review them all, but you have curbside pickup. You have let's stay safe together. A lot of templates that we wanted just to support our salon base, and we provided these type for you, and you could customize them. We knew that there was going to be disasters at home with hair color. So we created the templates. Did your do-it-yourself hair color turn into SOS? Just as one of the many templates that we did. And I know a lot of salons took advantage of these templates and posted those on their social media pages. Here's another one. We knew that booking in advance and getting rebooks is going to be really important as we move forward. So this is just more examples of the templates. Excuse me. And then we knew that the take home. We knew that we were creating take home during COVID crisis, and now we knew that the take home would probably continue on in salons. So we obviously offered opportunities for that as well. And then the upgrade services, Jeff, speaking of Jeff, we go back to, I think it was 2012 when Goldwell partnered with Jeff on a concept of upgrade services. I know many of you on the call are very familiar with upgrades, but then we started tying upgrade templates to the recovery program as well. So public relations, I put this in here. It's a little busy of a slide, but I found it fascinating. We had a lot of salons take advantage of this. Many of us are not necessarily that social media savvy. So we offered our professional team to support the salons. And if you can see right here, so basically, if you want to outbound deliver social media communication to your client base, you provide the concept to our team. We put the words in writing for you, and we craft it, and then we make it very professional, and then we give it back to you. And that's all in about a 2-week time frame. So we actually take your content that you want to deliver to your salons, and we put it in a way that it really is professional. And it was like 9,000 points to redeem, but we had many salons redeem this. to help them in their social media. I thought that was a really cool package. All of our assets, everything we have, and then Ryan will share this with you, is located in a Dropbox link. So every template that we have, everything that I've spoken about is in that link right there, and it's all captured there for your ease of using. We also had a lot of business seminars. Basically what we do is we had webinars with Allison King and others who provided weekly business seminars to salons on whether it was the PPE, the PPP, whatever the business aspect of it was. We had seminars to cover that, and these are all still housed and recorded, so you can go into Salon Alliance and pull those out at any time. So just to give you that. So what are the results so far? May, June. Now this is sales through the entire organization. We projected, to give you an idea, we projected in May 1st, we projected about 50% of where we were last year, based on the capacities of the salon, based on the ability to bring people in. And quite frankly, no one really knew what the heck was going on. I mean, every day was a different number, a different change, but 50% was our goal. In May, we came in right at 85%, and in June, actually, it was about 87%. That was of the previous year. So if you think about it, this is pre-COVID. We still came in at 85%. We expected 50. It was really amazing. Goldwell, New York had a record month for the month of June in salon sales. They've been with us for 38 years. They are our longest tenured distributor in the Goldwell network. Think about it. They had a record month in that particular month. It caused, actually Japan inquired, our corporate world headquarters inquired on this particular data point, because it was just, what did Goldwell New York do that somebody else didn't? But quite frankly, a lot of the salons in July had record months in salon in July. It depends on when you're opening. So we're right on pace, ironically, to where we were last year. We do expect the month of August to slow down a little bit, but the months of May, June, and July were very, very pleasing. Great news. I mean, it was just all around very, very good news. So the redemption results. So if you recall, we had options of, you could have products, you could have a virtual gift card, you could have our hair care products, our accessories, KMS was available, salon merchandising was available, and the various tools. And if you can see, I have to get rid of this real quick. As you can see, here's the interesting. So majority of the redemptions were through the recovery products, all the products that you had available to you to redeem. So 40% did that. The virtual gift card, which took 15,000 points for $250, that was 31%, and nationally averaged, that was about 18%. So there were a lot of virtual gift cards redeemed by Goldwell New York. We ended up having a little bit of KMS, salon merchandising, and various tools, but at the end of the day, there were 2 million points redeemed in that 30-day period. Normally, this group does about 500,000. So 2 million points redeemed, so everyone got on board. We had 254 members of Salon Alliance that actually participated in the program, which is well over 50%. And so the recovery program itself, people took advantage of it. And then when you tied in the Goldwell New York recovery program, it was really, we feel pretty strongly that there was a lot of support given out in products and programs. So to help the recovery happen a little bit quicker. So we also sent out for our gold, platinum, and titanium accounts, we sent out a kit. I know most of you, if not all, have received those kits in the last 2 to 3 weeks, but that was just another way of supporting the salons. I know we had a lot of great feedback from providing the hand sanitizers, the masks, and the disposable case. But ironically, one of the favorite things that I got feedback on was the Love Your Local, right here, Love Local. That was really kind of a nice thing for them, especially during the times in July when they were really busy. And so from a Cal standpoint, that's the financials. I'm going to come back, Ryan, with a little bit more education to show you the virtual education offerings. The format I had it in actually kind of went wonky on me. So I'm going to come back maybe at the very end, just show you what we're doing virtually with all the education pieces we have. But at this point, that's what I have for the sales piece.
Great, thanks, Dale. And yeah, I know Dale and Amy McClellan, our Director of Education, were talking yesterday and prep for this. There's all kinds of new virtual education coming up, and that is naturally the other part of all this is, where does education fit in? whether it be live, studio, in salon, virtual, or whatever. And they've got some great stuff to share with you that's like hot off the presses, and there's just a lot happening. And I think at the same time, it's how do we get any of this out to you in a way that is palatable for you, with everything else you have on your plate, right? So that being said, thanks, Dale, a lot. And so let's move on. Jeff South, as I mentioned, Dale Jinks introduced us to this guy, Jeff South. They got talking about this. There's a salon owner from Atlanta who's doing this thing called the upgrade menu, and it's helping generate all this new revenue, et cetera, et cetera. And we're always open for new ideas and meeting new people. And fortunately, Jeff got on a plane and came up and hung out with us at Turning Stone Casino. I'm not sure it was the first year, but it was the first. It might have been the first year. It was over Halloween. We did a trade show on Halloween.
That's my birthday.
Which is his birthday as well. So it was kind of a twofer. You know, it was Halloween, it was his birthday, and we got to meet this cool guy, Jeff South. So I want to let him, ooh, what happened here? Hopefully you're all still there. Uh-oh. Let's see, are we still there? Okay, my screen just did something weird, sorry. Okay, cool, you're still there. Thumbs up? Okay. My computer's doing something weird, but I'm going to remind me later of whatever this is. Let's see, let me get this out of the way. Okay, good. Okay, you're still there. Good. Phew. See you, Zoom. Gotta love it. Jeff, so yeah, why don't you go ahead and take over and share with us your different insights.
You know, first, Ryan, you're saying that I'm a great guy. You're the great guy. And Dale Jinks is right there with you.
Thank God.
You know? But I appreciate the invite with this. I know Bonnie and I always love to do things with Goldwell, especially with Goldwell, New York. It's a phenomenal organization. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm a second generation hairstylist, and I'm seeing a big picture of Dale Jinks on my screen. I don't know why I'm seeing Dale. I need to print it. And I'm second generation. I'm a titanium salon. I've been around the business for 35 years or so, give a little bit. I'm not behind the chair anymore. Right now we're at like 102 days back open. So to me, you can imagine it's been an incredible ride. Last year, I had my best year personally. I just was killing it. Everything that I touched was just turning to gold. I even had a yacht in the Caribbean called Better Days, and just finished a book. It just never went to print because look what happened. Then boom, that big reversal just destroyed me mentally a little bit. And I think it did all of us. We've had to deal with so much. There's no manual for this. There was nothing. No one knew what was going to happen. You know, and I thought it was the end of the world, really, for me, not the end of the world, but for me and what's going to happen. But you know, at the time I did, but now I know that it wasn't. You know, maybe it's something better. And I'm going to share something in a minute about that we need to be careful. All the things we had to learn are just incredible. I'm going to try to share screen here. Let's go here. You know, all the things we had to adapt in those 5 months that we were there. We forget how much we've done as salon owners and leaders. We have done a lot. We have done more in this 5 months, and me personally, than I think for learning than we did in an entire lifetime. You know, when should we close? Remember that? And think about this and write in the comments, you know, what did you feel and what did you think when you knew you were going to have to close down? I mean, that's something to really think back on and remember about, you know, where you are now compared to then. You know, think about that time. So here are some of these things, and it's amazing list. You know, when do we close? How do we cancel the guests? How do the bills get paid when we're closed? When will we open again? How will the employees get paid? You know, how do we learn how to do employer managed unemployment? Then you got the PPP, then you got the EIDL, then you got to fill all that out. You've got all these forms. You know, how do you know, if you're closed and generate income, how are you going to do that? You know, how do you get products if everything's closed? And how are you going to sell those even during, you know, the pandemic to start out? You know, how do you communicate the sanitation with the team and the guest? You know, then you realize like, oh my God, where am I going to get masks? There's no sanitizer, there's no mask, there's no Lysol, you know, so you have to research that and you have to learn how to do that. Inventory, then you're wondering, well, is there going to be inventory? If I open back up, how am I going to get this inventory? No one's at the salon. How am I going to do that? Are the stores open? Is people ship? And what's going to happen? Then the ever-changing CDC rules. We've had to deal with that constantly. I know more about masks and shills now than I ever thought I would ever care about. And I can't wait for the day when we can get rid of these masks, hopefully. Education for social distancing, Zoom, like Dale was saying, lots of Zoom stuff. How are we going to manage when the team has to come back their time? You can't just bring everyone back in. It wasn't going to be like normal starting out. What's going to be all the new schedules? I mean, this is a lot of stuff. What kind of dividers? Are you going to do pull-up banners between, if you're not 6 foot away? Are you going to do plexiglass? Or are you just going to do every other chair? What are you going to do? Do we blow dry or not blow dry? I think that was something me and my friends in Atlanta, we started that whole concept, which worked out well, and then after that, we had to determine like, oh, when are we going to start blow drying now? Since we're not blow drying, another decision, when do we ramp up? Now the question is, what do you do if an employee starts feeling sick? Maybe they've just got a little sniffle. What are you doing? How do you pay someone if they get COVID? Now the forgiveness. I mean, we have done more than we think, and we've been remarkable leaders. Really, that's it in a nutshell. And I'm gonna let me get this screen off here. Stop share. Hang on one second, guys. Okay. So I want to talk to y'all about something that's even more dangerous to your salon than COVID. And what that is, more than fear. Fear was out there for sure. We're all running around. This is called selective bias. I've been researching this. Have you ever bought a car, maybe a particular color? Say you go buy, Dale Jinks buys a blue Jeep, and he thinks he's the only one with the blue Jeep. But when he buys that Jeep, when he's out on the road, that's all he sees is the blue Jeep. Everywhere he goes. So his mind is focused on that. So what we want to do with all this, the Facebook, the Instagram, all the news, it is devastating. So what I want to show you now, let me just skip this over, sorry about this. It's called selective bias. That is when you support a belief of what we already have instead of researching the data. And this way you can protect yourself from thinking in a way that could be wrong or detrimental to your business. You can see the rings there. You've got on your left side, that's your facts. That's the facts Dale was just talking about. Their sales are up, the numbers are up. Then you've got the facts. In my salon, we had the beliefs were, if you look at the news and you look at the Facebook and you're talking to the wrong people and the clients are all amped up about it, those beliefs are, oh, this is terrible. People are dying. Businesses are killing, not doing well, all this. You hear all that stuff. So what that does, what you see is that you're not seeing all these positive things. So a way you can protect yourself is just being aware. You got to find all that's good and quantify the worst that can happen. So that's selective bias. And the way I like to stay out of that zone, because I can fall into it too. We all have done that. I'm sure we're hairdressers. Sometimes we do a terrible haircut or color. We're just like devastated. I can't believe I did that. But then a couple of weeks later, we're all fine. I call it local salon news. And the way local salon news works is to have a salon community network. So that network, let me just do those little notes here. You need just 4 people. You need 4 salon owners or 3 salon owners. Atlanta's got a great community. I've got to say, great. And I've got some great friends like Van Counseling, Candy Shaw, Amanda Hare. I mean, we are constantly talking every single week, all of us. And what that helps, that keeps us in reality, because what's happening in California, or what's happening in Florida, what's happening in New Jersey, we need to be aware of. But we need to be more aware of what's here. And all of these salons, we're all different scales, What's happening, we say, oh, we're doing this. I'm doing this kind of divider. I'm doing plexiglass. I'm doing pull-up. That's some of the things. We never go down the bad trail. What we talk about is like, how's the business? It seems like we're really busy. We're really busy like last week or 2 weeks ago. And then it started.
Oh, did we lose your sound, Jeff, or is it just me?
No, it looks like he might have frozen, Ryan. He might have lost it.
Bonnie's going to the rescue.
Okay. He's so passionate, he froze.
He looks like he's just frozen in time. Just.
Actually, for those who are watching, if you can mute your video, freeze your video. Sometimes that helps with the bandwidth of this, is what I hear. So if you go into your stop video and click that, that may help us get Jeff back online. Let's see.
There we are.
You're back.
Okay, sorry. I don't know when I dropped out because my internet disconnected. They're working on the cable next door, so that's probably a problem on the street. So where did I end up, Ryan? Can you tell me?
You were talking about your team and about talking about your business, what's happening in your area. You've got the outside forces, but then what's happening with you around and how your business is doing, focusing on that and the positive.
Right. So that's what we're doing with my network here. And if there was one wish I had for all the salons in the world, is to have friends like that to call, because I don't really come up with anything. Maybe that I was lucky with the upgrade program, but everything else has already been done. And that's all we can trust are the people that you've got that. And Ryan knows, I mean, if I get information, I can share it or I can't share it, I'll tell him, and but we all work so hard together. It's about the mindset. So I want to tell you about a story here. And a couple of weeks ago, I kind of got in a freaky little place. I got kind of nervous. It seems like the media started getting in my head. There was an uptick. The media was killing it. Are we going to get reinfected? Let me just turn this screen share off. So, am I still there?
You're here and
okay.
No screen share.
I'll just talk. I can't get this screen share off.
Okay.
And so in the salon, it kind of, sometimes the leader kind of drives the team, and perhaps it was my fault. I didn't think it was, but maybe it was, because I had that selective bias also. So what happened was that negativity started coming in the salon. People started getting scared again. Then everyone was saying, oh, it's slow. It's what's going on. Am I going to have to get a second job? Things along that line. As a leader, I kind of hear back stuff like that. And it started getting me down. So what I always do, I go to the data. I mean, have you all heard that phrase, "In God we trust, all others must use data"? So I said, is it really slow? July is generally a slower month anyway, because here in Atlanta, people go to Florida. No one knows what's going on now, So I'm thinking I'm going to look at this month in July, and I'm going to compare it to the first full month before the COVID outbreak. And when I found out, I found that 16 of my 28 stylists had a better month in July than in February. And just knowing that just changed everything for me. And I, obviously I communicated that with my team, and everything is real now. It just came right around. So don't take that wrong path where you're seeing things are bad, because I'm telling you, they're really good. There's so many positive out there. I was talking to a friend of mine. He thinks schools are going to boom right now. That means there's going to be stylists galore available. I mean, there's talk about, allowing people just to go into school with, their unemployment. If they're unemployed, they're collecting money. What a perfect time to go learn a trade. And it's a good time for people to consider a trade. Like the hair industry is a beautiful industry to do. So it could really help this business. Another thing, something that we were thinking, I had an employee that she's ready for a price increase. We've got all these levels to do that. And she goes, I don't know if I should raise my prices with COVID going on. And I go, Emily, I said, most of the people that live around our salon, they're businessmen, businesswomen. They've got 401ks and IRAs. Do you know that the stock market and those accounts are probably higher than they've ever been in history? And she was really I could just see she was taken back. She goes, even with this? I go, even with this, your prices should definitely go up. they're okay, you know, and it all depends on where you're living. You know, I totally understand that, but you've got to just be objective and look at all those facts and search out. Of course, there's going to be bad stuff. There's always going to be bad stuff, but search out the good stuff and be objective and get that data. So trust the data and trust your salon community. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can get out this. So Ryan, can you see me?
I can see you. Yes. Yep.
So I'm just gonna close out now and just say that things are always gonna happen. You know, we have to get back to the swing of things. Sometimes we can't control what's going on, and you just have to let it happen. Just let it happen, but always learn to appreciate all the good that comes out of it and live every day to get your dreams. You know, and this, if you really search, you can find all the positives out of all of this. And I think the salon industry, didn't a month ago, but now I kind of get it. I think the salon industry is going to be better after this. And I think the new normal is going to be greater than the old normal. But that's it. And I'm open to answer any questions later. Put them in the chat. I don't know how long I've been speaking, probably too long. But thank you, Ryan, for having me in and letting me share.
Actually, you're we're ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. So, and Jeff, you know, one of the things is, and we've talked about this last few, in our last couple of calls preparing, is there's definitely, the realities are, you know, there's some scary stuff. There's been some challenging things. At the same time, is it that as entrepreneurs, especially, and because I'm not a business owner, you are, you know, a lot of business owners are out there. What you do is you dig deeper and you do say, okay, I'm not going to let this, you know, knock me down, and I'm going to get back up. And that is then it's finding the silver lining, finding the positive. And I think for our industry, and where Dale was sharing the numbers, we were shocked as to how well, how strong our business was in June and into July, which is a testament that salons are busy, which is, thank goodness, right? Because we were all, you know, flying blind here and not knowing what was going to happen. So it's then, what do we do next? And what do we do next? And what do we do next? But really the data is so important, right? Because we have to know our numbers, because feelings can certainly take us over, and the weight of the world can take you over. But then if you take a step back and evaluate facts and numbers, and then be that coach, that leader that you need to be, right? That we can be stronger, most certainly. And which is great. And it's such a great optimistic view. You know, I really appreciate always talking to Jeff too, is about the networking, you know, the networking of establish, you know, is it 4 or 5 owners in your region who you can start talking to, who you can start reaching out to, who you can share with. And if we can help with that, let us know, because there's some amazing, you know, we have the most amazing salon owners, the most amazing stylists. And yeah, at the same time, sometimes they don't have the time or take the time or feel it's the right time to network. And networking, I think you have survived by that, right, Jeff? Would you say?
Absolutely. Let me say something else too, because I forgot something. There's 2 things I forgot. So one was our mantra between all of us. It was day to day, week to week, or month to month. That was our mantra through this. But the other thing, don't think that you're intruding on a salon owner to speak to them. You know, so everyone needs to talk. If you could talk to a salon owner that owns 50,000 salons, he still wants to talk to you. You know, if he's in your area, the smart people with the big places, you know, I don't hesitate at all to call and speak to them at all, because they want to learn from me and I want to learn from them. We're all learning from each other. And if we're in our community, that's the key, because we all rise together.
Right. I love it. Absolutely fantastic. Great.
Ryan?
Yes, Dale.
Just real quick, on the path of, it was kind of interesting. So I had a conference call with another distributor, and there were about 30 people on the call. And we were getting a kind of a temperature check with all the territories, how they're doing. And about the second or third person in started to describe how difficult it was, and that the salons were slow and there was no rebookings and all of this. So the negative road started happening. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like everybody had negative challenges versus positive opportunities. So we get to the very end, and the distributor owner is on the Zoom call, and he's sitting back, he's got his arms folded, he's just kind of looking around, he goes, I'm not sure where you guys are or who you're working for. He said, but I had to hire 2 guys in the warehouse to meet the demand of all the packages going out. So he said, we're having the best month we've ever had, and you guys are telling me you're having the worst month we've ever had, and something's not quite jiving here. So the whole point, obviously, is that people can go down that negative road, but there are definitely silver linings everywhere. And they're not all the time, but you do have to extract those out and share those, because sometimes it's a redirect. And like Jeff said, data and facts are key in this. And that's what, it's not just a hypothetical or I feel this way, it's here's the real deal. And that changed, honestly, that changed the whole dynamic of that Zoom call, just like that.
Sure.
And it became productive.
Okay, awesome. Well, and again, that is going to be our constant for quite some time. And that's, you know, how do we do that and stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So then if we are a few minutes ahead, which is great, we can introduce our next speaker is Bonnie Bonadeo. And I think, Bonnie, I'm always nervous about pronouncing your last name correctly. Is that just me? But I had the pleasure of meeting Bonnie a few years ago with Jeff, and her resume, her work in this industry has been absolutely fantastic. And even just what she's been doing the past year or two has been really, I think, instrumental in helping chart courses for different salons around the country. So with that being said, I'll let you introduce yourself even better, Bonnie, because we know that you can do it better than I can.
All right,
So
thanks, Ryan. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. So I am Bonnie Bonadeo, and Ryan, you said it perfectly. So that's all good. And I've been in the industry for 39 years, and I've played many roles in the industry, from working for manufacturers, distributors, sales consultants, working for the industry association, of course, working behind the chair, managing salons, and finally, you know, took it upon myself to think that, you know, yay, I can start my own business. And I did that right at the onset of a recession. I also did my own business, which was an agency to help educators connect with buyers. Kind of like a Match.com for our educational people in our industry, only to find out that Facebook was going to be invented right around that time. And nobody needed an agent anymore because they could just self-promote. So I've reinvented myself many times. And right now, what I say that I do is I'm a speaker, coach, author, and agency. But you guys, here's what I really do. I help salon owners and people in this industry, whether you're an indie brand, big organizations, suite stylist, independent contractor. I help you connect with you so that you can better connect with other people. And I do that on a foundation of emotional intelligence. So whatever the topic is, emotional intelligence is the foundation. Now, Jeff was just sharing a lot about that selective bias, which another phrase for that is kind of like cognitive bias. In other words, it's what we think and what we think we know. And it's a great place to start from. But the truth is, we have to get into the space of being emotionally connected right now, because when emotions are high, logic is low. And you can't kind of compete with emotions with logic. You have to be able to get on an emotional level with people in order to get back to that logical space. So Dale's example that he just said, where everybody was being all negative, it was that was everybody expressing emotions, and somebody had to logically shift that moment. Well, this is happening in salons, in businesses, in our households, in our communities, in our nation, in our world. All of this is happening right now, is this ability to say, we're emotionally charged right now. So we have to be able to kind of look at how we can manage our businesses from that emotional place. So I'm going to do a quick screen share as well here, you guys. And we'll get started on this particular piece here. Okay, so we're going to talk about creating that emotional connection. And what I'm saying is to be emotionally aware in your communications and marketing. And I think most of you are leaders in your businesses at this time. Some of you might be, you know, stylists or managers in the business that are on the call. I don't know, but inevitably, in this industry, we lead clients, we lead our business. So whether you're the actual owner or a participant and team member in this particular call, we still have to be emotionally aware of how we're communicating and marketing ourselves out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing and branding here. All right, so this is the salon clients of 2020, all right? Fearful, And then there's a few that are fearless, right? Because I see those on those salon forums all the time. I have a client that doesn't want to wear a mask. I have a client that's that thinks it's stupid that we're doing this. You have some clients that are feeling bad right now, like emotionally not okay or physically not okay. And then you have some that are looking bad right now. We get some stylists or some clients that are wanting to change it up. They're wanting to do something different, okay? And then you have others that are scaling back. They're simplifying the types of services they've done in the past because they might be high maintenance and they don't feel like they can, keep up on the maintenance of them. We have a lot of our clients and consumers that are very concerned about safety right now. And we have another selection of some of our clients that are crazy disoriented, which, by the way, from an emotional standpoint, is converting into canceled appointments and no-shows because they actually don't even know what day it is. You guys, do you know what day it is? I don't know what day it is anymore. Every day is the same. So, unless you have good systems in place to be able to say, hey, it's Tuesday, you have an appointment with us on Wednesday, tomorrow type of thing. People are like just not showing up, and we're all making it sound like it's so bad, but the truth is some level of our responsibility that we need to support them because we're all disoriented in this new way of managing things that we've been doing. And of course, we have some clients that are very cash rich right now, okay, that they're not impacted by what's happening in the pandemic world. And we have some that they've been highly affected by what's happening in the pandemic world and they're cash poor. And all of those things are going to create a level of emotion to what's happening in our industry. So how aware are you to how they're feeling? Okay. How aware are you to how they're feeling? Have you shared your values and have you built trust? Because these are the two things. These are foundational things that no matter what your business was pre-COVID, now you need to be able to look at what am I really offering my clients? And do they trust me to continue to offer this? Okay. And how do you know? How do you know that you're doing this? There's got to be some form of connective feedback that you're getting that they're saying, I feel so safe coming into this salon, or thank you for being so cautious about safety concerns. That's the kind of feedback you want to be able to have to trust that you're doing some things right. But then you have to think about how aware are you to your own feelings? Are you leading from compassion in understanding what's going on in the environment, in the world, in your business, or are you leading from fear? Because people feel fear, and fear is very contagious along with emotions. And so if this fear-based approach that you're taking on is impacting your team, it's also impacting your clients as well. And that's going to result in a lot of shifting that's happening in here. But let's look at some of the obvious opportunities that we can talk about. And I stated over here, market what? I'm a marketing expert and a branding expert. And what I'm suggesting to all of my clients, and when I get on these type of calls, is that you have to start being able to market yourself out there. You have to start creating that point of difference. You have to start pushing that communication out that's saying you're a safe place to be, come on in. Type of thing, because we don't want them to be fearful of our industry at this point. And we don't want to have to ever shut down again either, like what's happening in California. So here's some obvious opportunities to be able to take on. You got to have some solid systems in place, things that are going to be true to you in order to keep things running, have everybody on the same page. And I like to use the DICE method for this, which is decide what you're going to do, implement it, communicate it, and enforce it. And no gray areas in some of what we're doing right now. We have a license in touching and we have a license in sanitation. So I can see it's obvious why there's concerns to people wanting to come back into the salon at this point in time. But when you have solid systems in place and everybody's following along with them, then it's a very powerful experience. Be data-driven, like what Jeff was talking about. Be careful of that selective bias that's happening. Look at your own numbers. Look at what's going on in your community to be able to support you in better decision-making. And of course, be community-minded. What are you doing to support your community in regards to safety? And here's the number one thing I'm going to tell you guys, if this is all you get out of what I share with you, The number one thing you should be marketing between how you're pushing things out, maybe on social media or email campaigns or whatever it is safety. Safety should be the number one thing that you're marketing right now. If you watch any TV and watch any commercials, every other commercial is a safety commercial. Every other commercial is come together, help support it, be safe, you know, do this. Why is our business any different? Why are we not following along with some of what's happening in that? And then of course, to be able to connect with compassion, because your team and your clients, they need leaders right now, okay? They need really strong leaders right now. Okay, so I'm going to go through 6 marketing and branding strategies for you guys to take on while we're in this pandemic phase here. So I already shared this one with you, market safety. Okay, so marketing your safety protocols and sell safety versus pushing policy. And I want you guys to like hear the distinction in that. Selling safety versus pushing policy. All right, nobody wants policy. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants to be forced to have to wear a mask. But when you're selling it as a product or a service, safety as a product or service, then people align with it better. So look at it as a promotional, as a marketing campaign to be able to share the things that you're doing that make your environment and your team safe for clients to be able to come in there. The second thing here is to brand you. Now, I'm going to throw out some names of some very big brands, and I want to see if you guys can tell me the difference between any of these. All right. Amazon over eBay, Facebook over LinkedIn, Walmart over Target, Apple over Dell, Tesla over Toyota. So Amazon, Facebook, Walmart, Apple, and Tesla, they all have one thing in common as a big brand versus the other ones that I just mentioned, eBay, LinkedIn, Target, Dell, Toyota. And if you can figure it out, I'll offer you something. All right, to be able to do that. But if you can't, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a chance. Anybody want to write it in there? I'm going to look in the chat here real quick just to see. Market safety, good. Oh, I like that, Ryan. Thank you. All right, so I don't think anybody's got it yet. I'm going to tell you guys what it is. We know who the brand person is. We know who the owner is. We know who the leader is of that organization over these other companies. And in marketing, we do business with people, not products or businesses, okay? So you have to be able to think, are they aware of who I am in my community? So when I say brand you, put yourself out there, share your story, how long you've been in the industry. You wanna be able to look at authentic stories and authority stories. I've been in this community for a long time. I started out, you know, like Jeff said, he's a 2nd generation hairdresser. We've been marketing Jeff in regards to what he's doing and to build more trust, to build more value into his particular location so that people feel safe coming in. They're getting to know Jeff all over again with the marketing campaign that we're doing right now. We're playing the small business card. Okay, you guys, do it. There isn't one community that wants to lose any small business. We don't want to see our restaurants go out of business, the ones that we frequent, especially the individual ones, you know, the home-owned ones, the entrepreneurial ones. We don't want to see them go out of business. Well, nobody wants to see you go out of business either. So it's okay to play the small business card. Really have that conversation with your clients that, listen, we're having some specials on our Goldwell products. You know, you're eventually going to need shampoo and conditioner or some hairspray. And I'd like to request that you buy these products from us as a small business instead of maybe buying them from a big box retailer. Ask. It's okay to ask. What are they going to say? No. But if you ask, then there's a good chance, 50% chance that they might say yes to be able to buy these things. We have to figure out how to build up our cash reserves. We have to figure out how to build up loyalty as we're progressing on, because we don't know what to expect coming down the pipeline in our future. And of course, to be very money-minded right now. And this is a selective bias that Jeff was referring to here. People are thinking that money is not available in the economy. This is not a recession. This is a pandemic. We're shut down, but pretty much everybody is still working. There's some exceptions to that, of course, but for the most part, people are working. And what they're not doing is spending money. And we know that what will happen if they don't spend money, we will go into a recession, okay? Because money needs to flow. in order for that to happen. So when clients come in, don't assume that the pandemic has hurt them financially. Look at it from a perspective of this is the one place that they can go to and feel like they're part of a community, talk with other people, get their hair done and look good, and also spend money. So upgrades, add-ons, retail, all of those things are available for your clients to be taking advantage of right now, assuming that you're prepared for them to take advantage of it in here. Okay. All right. Number 5, sell the future. I know this seems hard right now, and this is kind of like, it feels like an oxymoron a bit because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but you want to sell the future, okay? Your salon may be that one other place that they're going to besides picking up, to-go food or the grocery store. The salon is the environment that they're literally going into. They're spending more than 15 minutes in there. They're actually getting touched and they're looking and feeling good about it. And at this point, I think we've done a fantastic job as an industry of showcasing what we're doing in safety terms, showcasing that our salon industry and the services that we offer are more essential than non-essential. So safety and connection is going to be a big factor to this. So sell the future, which means pre-book appointments. Okay, get them to come back in, give them a reason to be able to get excited about their appointment 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks down the pipeline here. Okay, offer the upgrade services that Dale was talking about to have them look their best and to try new things. This is a perfect time to try new things with your clients because there's less risk. It's not like, oh, well, I don't think I want to do that because I'm going on vacation to Europe. None of these things are happening. So, experiment a little bit with some of the services you're offering or the opportunities that are available to them. And then, of course, again, I want to just reinforce the pre-booking part because I'm seeing right now one of the trends that's happening is people saying, I was really busy when we first opened up and now I'm really slow. Okay, which there is going to be that ebb and flow that's going to happen. But if you're pre-booking your clients to kind of lock them in and having more of those loyalty conversations, then we shouldn't have those highs and lows being as significant as maybe they are in some other locations. Okay, and then number 6, get digitally savvy now. Now is the time. I mean, look at us. We're all like Zoom experts here, right? So I had clients for years. I've been preaching this. 5 years I've been preaching. You've got to start getting digitally savvy because we have to understand how consumers find us. Consumers don't go, hey, who does your hair in a grocery store anymore? I mean, maybe that's the case, right? We would say word of mouth is the best form of advertising. Nobody's out talking to anybody. So word of mouth is not a very powerful way of getting new business. How they're doing it is they're going online. They're Googling you. They're looking at your social media accounts. They're checking out your website, okay? And if these things are not brand savvy, then you're not going to get that business in the future that you should. It's not going to create that point of difference for you. So we have to start getting really brand savvy. Now, I know you're thinking, I don't have time to do this. And I'm going to suggest that this head down philosophy right now that we've been in during this pandemic and kind of the reopening phases is kind of like put the chin up and look around and say, what can I do for my business to have it be more sustainable in the future? And there's no excuses anymore that we don't have these things in place because I get we're an in real life business. So I call it an IRL business. We're in real life. We can't get a haircut over the internet. People literally have to come in to have services done. But we're only going to survive if we have a URL, a digital presence or footprint to be able to sustain us for the long term. And that level of communication, here's a question for you guys. How many of you were prepared to shut down? And then how many of you were prepared to open back up? And what didn't you have available to you? Did you have all your client records? Did you have every email to be able to contact them? Did you have text services to be able to, let them know we're open, we're coming back? Did you encourage them to go onto your social media pages so that you could communicate by those means? These are the things that we have to be better prepared at, and we have to start devoting a little bit more time to in order to be that savvy business owner going into the future. It's going to be more competitive because we're also going to be more advanced in this whole technology world. However, we're lucky that we're still a business that can manage both in real life and be digitally savvy. All right, you guys. So, and I put these in here because I wanted to show you some of the promotions that we did with the Salon Alliance promotion that Goldwell was doing. We did 2 promotions that were happening over, they're current right now. So we started them in middle of July, so they're still current. But we bought some of these products with our points, and we got some of these sidebar things that are happening right now. And we put some promotions together because we ultimately wanted to talk about something else other than COVID with our clients. And so this is in Jeff's salon here that we did this, because I'm the marketing director for Jeff's salon. And by the way, if you don't know, I'm also his better half, or he's my better half. Maybe I should say it that way. He's my better half. So I also am the marketing director for Intrigue Salon. And these are some of the promotions that we put together to be able to support some sales for him. So the 5 weeks while we were closed, we did an online store and we sold, 3 or 4 different products and, multiple SKUs based on color of the foam of the powder. And we sold $10,000 in 5 weeks. And the summer promotions at this point have brought us in $5,000 in additional retail sales. So it was some thought, it was some foresight, it was some strategy, and it was some planning. But it was also because we really wanted to make sure that our clients had access to every available opportunity to spend money with us during this time and to feel safe doing so. Okay.
Can I pop something in, Bonnie?
Yeah, go ahead.
When Bonnie first wanted to do this, the beach bags and the products, I'm thinking we're in a pandemic. People want to buy a beach bag. They can't really go to the beach. They can't really go to Florida. They really going to buy a beach bag and all of that. They did. I was really surprised. He was right.
Yeah, well, we're still selling them at this point. And you know what, you guys, if I can't go anywhere, I want to act like I can go somewhere, So it was still a great value in products. It was still a great opportunity to be able to have a different conversation with the clients. But ultimately what it was just something to be able to create more transactions, because that's what marketing and branding is, you guys. It's converting what we're doing into loyalty, into trust, and into transactions, into sales, so that we can stay in business for the long haul here. So branding is about you and your values and what your contribution to others are. Okay, so what is it you are really offering right now in your business? If you're just basing it on haircuts and colors and covering gray and fixing DIY sessions that they did at home, then you're missing the point of how you can stand out a little bit more right now during this pandemic. There's not a lot going on. So this is a great time for people to see it if you are putting some promotional value together. And then of course, what I say is branding is sales with a soul. It's about you. Okay, it's about your values personally, how you're creating those opportunities to connect with other people. And then marketing is the plan that puts it into place and converts it into a transaction. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you guys today. So here's the deal. Build a brand that is values driven, not just value driven, but values driven based on what's important to you. So if safety is one of those things that's important to you, build a campaign around safety. If your team doing special things and having that unique brand approach, promote that. Decide what it is that you're going to promote. Figure out how you can push things out that make those connections for people to feel safe and to trust that you deserve to be in business and that people feel safe coming in to be able to do that. So build a brand is building a future.
Hey, Bonnie.
Yes.
It's interesting when you were talking about the technology side of it. Probably one of the biggest things that was exposed during the pandemic was the lack of online presence by the salons. Mm-hmm. And they really were caught off guard because all of a sudden they're on these Zoom calls and they're hearing about Jeff South doing $10,000 or somebody else doing $1,000, but they had access to an online store. And most salons did not have access to a website to have a store to sell product. That is changing dramatically. And even our distributors, in some cases, not Goldwell New York, but other distributors were antiquated in their online purchasing and online ordering in general. So it really is, as you point out, it's going to be like this moving forward. It's going to be more competitive. It's definitely going to be more technology driven. And so if you haven't really invested in your online store presence and your website, you're getting behind. And this industry was sleeping, and it really, I won't say woke up, but it really changed people.
Absolutely, because we've always been an in real life
Yeah.
business, and we didn't think that we had to have that digital footprint. So anybody interested in having a better understanding of the digital footprint they need to have, of course, you can DM me, or Ryan can refer you to how to track me down. And let's get your identity out there so that you can build a brand.
I just call Jeff and he can find you.
Yes, or call Jeff.
Well, this is great. I think where, and to Dale's point, this was such an unknown, and, we just thought we were just going to shut down completely, but we kept getting phone calls, and salons started doing curbside. And I think, one thing is that to do it safely, legally, or all whatever, as we kept learning, someone asked the question prior to this is, how do you prepare for another shutdown? I guess we can have that come up a little bit later, but one is just sell as much as you can now, do as much volume as you can now, and save as much money as you can now in preparation. That's kind of my quick little non-entrepreneur thought. But I want to get into with our next guest. Janine Carrera is our HR Works representative, but even more than that. And so we're really happy to have her, because I know one of the other issues you have here is, what the heck do you do to stay compliant? What the heck do you do? How do you keep up with everything in addition to all your other hats that you wear? Then what do you do as an HR person? So I want to introduce Janine and let her get going, and then we'll be able to get into some Q&A session here. And if we run longer, I'll stay on as long as anyone wants to. But we certainly want to try and be done by 10:30, but let's see how we do. So Janine, welcome. And I guess, do you want to share your screen? You want me to share I did get your PDF to finally show up for me, so your pick.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to share it. So I'll just do a quick introduction. But I have to laugh because my last name is actually pronounced Korea. Ryan makes it sound so much fancier than it really is. So I laughed when you made the comment about Bonnie's last name.
I get yours wrong all the time, right?
That's all right. It's all right. Like I said, it's like Korea, like the country with a C, but
Chick Korea. Are you related to Chick
works
Korea?
too. So thanks for having me on, Ryan. I was glad that you and Stephen invited me to join this call, because, well, I love you. You're all talking about hair and salons and marketing and great stuff, and I love talking about HR. So, but it all ties together. So, just to give everybody a quick background, I've been in the HR industry for about 25 years now, and I help a lot of clients, like small business owners, as yourselves. Even have some salon clients as well. And it's a really tough time. And as I was listening to the other presenters, Jeff in particular said a couple things that I thought were fantastic tie-ins to talking about the HR side of it. And one thing he said is, there is no manual for this, right? And that's absolutely right. There is no manual. We're all in this together. Everybody's kind of figuring this out. And then when Jeff talked about all the things that you've been thinking about, as business owners, as salon owners, as you're going through either preparing for shutdown, during the shutdown, preparing to reopen, so much of it ties right to your staff. You are the leaders. What does this mean for your employees and your clients? And this is what I've been talking with my clients about for months now. So I'm going to do a quick screen share, and let's make sure I can get this up. Let's see. Let me know when you can, if everybody can you see my document, Ryan? Okay, got a thumbs up. So, okay. So what I put together here, and I gave this to Ryan, so he's welcome to send it out to all of you if you'd be interested in this, because the top issues, I thought about what are the top COVID-19 HR issues that I've been helping clients with. And this could be an entire presentation in itself. And so I want to be cognizant of time and really open it up for questions. So what I thought I would do is just put together this kind of one-page flyer. When you get it, there are links to different fact sheets and other resources where you can get more information. But just to kind of make sure that everybody, as business owners, you've probably heard all of these things, but just making sure that you know where to go for resources, maybe what you may need to be aware of, and how to keep your business compliant, as well as keep your employees safe. Because I believe that like safety, that is absolutely the number one priority. And I really loved, you know, the idea of, you know, focusing on safety. I liked what Bonnie said about selling safety versus pushing policy. I think about it, it applies the same, you know, with all of these different laws that have come into play through the pandemic, right? They may feel like compliance obligations, but I would challenge you to change your mindset and say, look at them as doing the right thing for your employees. Because if we can do the right thing for our employees throughout this tough time, they're going to be loyal to you. And we are going to get through this, and then your employees are going to stick there and be with you. So what does that mean? Well, we've got new mandatory leave requirements that I'm sure you've probably heard. You may or may not be aware of all the details, but at the federal level, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, or FFCRA, this provides two types of leave. There's an emergency paid sick leave, and then there's also what's known as the expanded family medical leave. So if you are a business with less than 500 employees, then you are subject to FFCRA. Now, there is a small business exception to the child care leave requirements under that. But again, it's one of those things where just because you can be considered exempt from it, should you? Is it the right thing for a given employee? You've got to decide that for your business. So the idea behind the FFCRA is that it's offering paid leave and job protected leave to employees for various scenarios, situations. It might be because they're subject to an order of quarantine. It might be because they have symptoms or have tested positive for COVID. It might be because of childcare issues related to COVID. So schools are shut down, or the schools may be coming back up into the fall, go to a hybrid situation. And so kids are home more than they were before. Could be the childcare center is, or childcare provider is unavailable due to COVID. So all of these reasons may entitle your staff to this job protected paid leave. Now for the employer, really the federal government is paying for it because you get dollar for dollar tax credit for the leave that you're paying. And the amount of pay is going to vary. It's going to either be 100% or 2/3 of their wages, depending on the reason for the leave. So what I did, again, because it's so much detail to go into on a call like this, is I'm providing you links to access that information and some high-level fact sheets. But one thing you should know, if you don't have a FFCRA notice posted in your workplace, that is a mandatory poster requirement. So you want to make sure you get that up, or otherwise get it out to your staff electronically. Okay. Then there's a New York State. So salon owners in New York, I think everybody other than Jeff is a New York salon owner on this call. So there is New York COVID-19 mandatory leave, and that is for employees who are subject to a mandatory order of quarantine. So depending on the size of your business, you may have to provide paid leave, or they're paid through the state through the paid family leave program. So again, won't go into a ton of detail there, but when Ryan hands out the document to you, when you access that, we have on our website, I gave you a link to a leave comparison chart. So it gives you a lot of good high level information so you can see how these leaves might run. But that's a big challenge we're hearing from employers is, what do I do when employees need time off? So like Jeff said, what do you do if an employee gets sick? What do you do if an employee feels sick? Well, these leaves and other leaves may come into play. Okay. Then we know navigating reopening, or potentially, let's hope we don't have to shut down again, but if you have to scale back, bringing people back, every state has different reopening plans. New York State, I think, has done a really good job in being very clear about what you have to do. So you're probably well aware of this if you're already reopened, but your business safety plans have to be in writing and available on your work premises if you were to be inspected by the Department of Health. So things to think about there, along with, and that includes components like your health screening of employees. How are you going to do that? How are you going to keep the workspace safe for both your clients and your employees? Okay, so again, won't spend a ton of time there. Then we've talked a lot with clients around.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the chat, Deanie asked, can you repeat the name of the poster?
Oh yeah, so it's the FFCRA, so the Families First Coronavirus Response Act.
Or,
And that's accessible right on the Department of Labor, the federal US DOL website.
okay.
If you type in FFCRA notice, you'll come right to it.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So another area that we've talked a lot with our clients about is just around the challenges with returning employees to work. And you know, it's one of those things where, again, this is where I try to talk with my clients around, yes, there are compliance aspects of it, but you want to look at each situation on a case-by-case basis and really figure out what's the right thing for the employee and for your business. You're right, you have a business to operate, but employees have a lot going on. So you might have people who just have a general fear, right? Maybe they're watching too much of the news and you shut the news off, get their facts, right? Do all of the things that Dale and Jeff and Bonnie talked about. But until they're in that place where they can feel confident, you know, you may have to make some concessions, or you may just choose to make some concessions for them. But is there a general fear? Do they have an underlying health condition or a compromised immune system that may increase their risks? Well, in that case, we may have obligations under the Americans with Disabilities Act or our state human rights law to provide accommodations to make sure that our employees are safe, you know, despite whatever immune issues they might have or disabilities that they might have. We've got potential childcare issues, like I talked about, and that's where the FFCRA may come into play. It also comes down to even if let's say with FFCRA, let's say you have under 50 employees and you could have the small business exemption from that childcare leave. Maybe you want to ask yourself, you know what, putting myself in this employee's shoes, they're trying to homeschool their kids. They want to work. They will make more money actually if they're working because it's only 2/3 their pay and they're probably losing out on tips and other things. So they probably want to work. You're in an industry where you've got weekend hours, probably night hours. Can you shift schedules? Are there things that you can do to enable your employee to work? Maybe it's not the same schedule they had before, but can you be flexible and work with the employee? And what can you do so that they can get some hours, you can get the productivity, and they can also support their families? Because I will tell you, you know, one of my own team members has 4 kids at home. And she was trying to do this homeschooling thing at the end of the school year. And even in the summer, right, the camps aren't open. Her kids aren't babies, but still 4 kids in the house. That's kind of hard to work remotely with 4 kids around. And, you know, you don't want employees, you know, to be ignoring their children, right? Employees have lives outside of work. And as leaders, if we can see value in our employees and we show that we care about them as people, not just a body to get work done for us, that compassion goes such a way. So I would say, you know, look at it not only from a compliance perspective, but what's the right thing to do and what can I do? And then of course, unemployment insurance challenges, that's an ongoing thing. I heard from a lot of my clients, the $600 extra benefit for the time being is over with, but we were seeing a lot of struggles with people who made more money out on unemployment than when they were actively working and sometimes didn't want to come back to work for that reason. So, but stay tuned on that because the unemployment stuff is continually changing and that varies by state. Again, I think most everybody's in New York. And then the last thing I'll just touch on, just so you have a sense of what else we're dealing with, is this New York State, New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, the tri-state travel restrictions. So huge impact on businesses when your employees, well, we're talked about vacations and people aren't taking vacations. Well, people are still taking their vacations. They're going to the Outer Banks. They're going to Florida. They had pre-planned trips. And then COVID hit. Sometimes there's, reservations, or there might be family obligations out of state. And right now, as of Tuesday morning, I think we're up to 34 states plus Puerto Rico that are on our restricted list. So there are very few places outside of New York that an employee can go that when they come back to New York, they're under a mandatory 2-week order of quarantine. Because I'm going to guess, based on the industry, I don't think any but of your staff are considered essential workers as the government deems essential workers. I personally think hairstylists are essential, but Cuomo does not think so here. So in that case, they're subject to that 2-week quarantine order. And what does that do, right? And what are you going to do? You have different choices as a business. Do you tell people that they can't take their vacation to a restricted state? Well, you might be able to, but you got to understand there's probably some ramifications from an employee relations standpoint, and possibly some other, legal challenges that could come up with that kind of thing. So lots for owners to consider, businesses to consider. And that's kind of how I spend my days, and how my team spends our days, is just really trying to not only stay on top of the laws, but also then trying to communicate them with our clients and helping our clients navigate their individual challenges. So as I said, tons of information. Ryan has the sheet that I've got pulled up here on the screen, and we'll go ahead and, I'll stop talking. We'll turn it over for any questions for the program. And then certainly you've got resources on the handout that you'll be receiving.
Thanks, Janine. Well, one thing about the travel restriction part, and I've been seeing salons post this on their sites or on social, is that if you have clients, salon guests who have traveled out of the area, that they're needing to reschedule because you don't want them in. And so it's the layers of this. Stephen used the word a few months back that it's all maddening at times, because you're trying to sift through everything and get the facts. And we've been very fortunate to have Janine as a resource. And so it is, and I get, as a small business, you're like, okay, how many more things can I pay for? This might be one thing, is to really look at HR Works. It's I think we pay hourly, so many hours a month or something is our contract, I'm not sure. But it's to where, you want to be compliant, and you want to, I think, to everyone's points, make all your people feel safe and valued. And this is one of those ways you can do it, is by communicating effectively, which again is adding one more layer of things that you have to do as an owner. But how about, thanks so much, Janine. Thanks, Dale, Bonnie, Jeff. How about questions? If anyone wants to unmute themselves, I know maybe some of you are chomping at the bit to ask some questions. By all means, take a second, find the mute button on your computer or phone, and we'll open the conversation.
And so, Ryan, one thing, I'm just looking at the chat, and there was a question about the poster. You don't need to buy the poster. Not just the FFCRA one. You might be thinking about, there's a bunch of labor posters that you might want to buy a kit on Amazon or any of those. There's reputable poster vendors, but the one for the FFCRA, it's a freebie, so it looks like it got posted in there. No need to pay for that. So
yeah, it looks like Bonnie posted it. Okay.
Yes, thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie. Okay, questions?
I have a question.
Hi, Lynette.
Hi. So I just put up, thank you all for all of this. I really, really appreciate everything you've all said. So I just want to say that. Thank you so much. I just put up a travel advisory asking clients if they have traveled outside of New York State, could they please book or rebook their next appointment 2 weeks after they arrive home? Because I live in the college town of Cornell University and Ithaca College, and we're getting a ton of people coming into town. And I've gotten a bite back from a few of my clients who are like, well, I went to Colorado, and what if I have a negative test? Like, do I make an exception for someone who can provide me with a negative test? Because I don't want my stylist to miss out on making money, but I've actually turned a few people away at the door when they can't answer that question, or they have been out of state. And I'm getting a lot of, when you're talking about marketing safety, even though I'm getting bite back from the clients who want to come in, I'm now getting a reputation in town for being the cleanest, safest salon. So, and we're not blow drying, and some people got upset about us not blow drying, but now people are coming to me because we're not blow drying. So I'm not quite sure what to do about the how strong should I be on that if you've traveled out of New York State.
Do you want me to weigh in a little bit first, Ryan, and then?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, great question, Lynette. I've actually, again, I've got a salon client that I'm working with as well that had a very similar issue. And what we talked about was really from that employee perspective. First of all, if they were in a restricted state, they should be under quarantine. So, because they've run into that too, where the client is actually breaking their own quarantine. It was a state that was restricted. And so they're putting not only themselves and others at risk, but they could also be subject to fines. So I think there it's perfectly clear to say, you can't come here, right? It's not an essential service. Now, if it's something where they weren't in a restricted state, how far you want to go there, those restricted states are changing weekly. Every Tuesday, the governor reassesses and reposts. So to have a policy that you're sticking by, you're the business owner. And what I talked to my client about was, again, there is no manual for this. So there's risks either way. So the risk of making exceptions or letting somebody in, either whether they're an essential worker and they're saying, well, I can come because I'm an essential worker. How are your employees going to feel about that? And are they going to feel comfortable? Because even with masks on, you're not 6 feet apart. You can't be. You're touching, and whether it's somebody to a restricted state or it's a customer that says, I have a medical condition and I can't wear a mask. My particular client tried different accommodations. They said we could do a face shield. They found a way to put the shield on, but they could still cut the hair. Obviously no washing or blow drying. And the customer said, nope, I don't want to do that either. And they said, well, then we're sorry, we're not going to service you because our staff, we're not going to put our staff at risk. We're not going to put the other customers at risk. And I will tell you, I had one of my colleagues forward me a social media post about my client, and it was somebody who was touting how great they are because of the safety protocols, exactly what you're saying. And so is there risk that you're going to upset somebody? Yes. Is there risk the other way and maybe a greater risk? Yeah. And so I think you just have to decide it almost goes to Bonnie's point before about values. What are your values? If one of your values is kind of that safety and that for your employees and that pro-employee, then you might say, I understand, Mr. Client, that you're upset. We are happy to book you 2 weeks out. We will get you in. But, this is for everybody's safety. And if they choose not to come back, then maybe they weren't the right client for your business. So that's just kind of my take on it.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I have to say, I think where you hit the nail on the head is that it's actually the client is putting themselves in jeopardy legally, by showing up, by leaving their house.
Right.
So you're saving them potential of being fined $2,000. Any other questions?
Ryan, I think there's one on there for me.
Yes.
If I can answer that, it's how we kept the team engaged during the shutdown. That seems like that was decades ago, honestly. And, until I have answers, it's hard for me to engage. Everyone was kind of doing their thing. We always gave the information out. That's a time for leadership. It's not a time to hem and haw, what should we do, and all of that. It's like a critical time on a boat in a storm. Someone's got to make the decision right then. So we really stuck to that. And of course we did the Zoom calls and little wine Thursday nights, things like that. Those seemed to work out okay. But as far as in the salon, Bonnie helps a lot with that because she's great. I just want to please everybody. She wants to communicate, so it's different, but constantly. I mean, right now we've got every week with COVID, the team needs to know everything, and they've got the right to know what we're going to do if someone is sick. Maybe someone's sick. Maybe someone's just out. What's happening with that? What happens if they're just sick and they got tested negative, and what happens when they're out for a week and waiting on a test. You know, so things like that just constantly, and we use a Facebook private page, you know, and also things that are critical, everyone's got a folder and we slip the information in the folders every day. Another thing I think for the communication, it's something we need to remember. Early on, we do this, we use Demand Force. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it sends out questionnaires to every client that comes in every single day. So every day we come back and there's a stack of reviews, and it's got clients talking. Omi, I appreciate all the sanitation. This place is amazing. I feel very safe. It exceeded my expectation, things like that. We got lots of that. And I make sure to write little notes on that and hand it to the team members that were mentioned. So they see it's not only us communicating with them, it's our guests communicating with them too. And I think that's so important. And now I can see it's going away from that a little bit, and it's going back now to the quality of work and how comfortable people are now and the feeling they get in that. But it's that connection all the time. Just it changes. And again, like Janine was saying, it and Bonnie, it changes all the time. All these rules, all the what happens with COVID. I can't imagine being in HR right now. That would be just that's as bad as being in the hair salon business. It's crazy, not bad, but it's just continually changing, and just keep putting the information out there. Because yesterday, Bonnie and I were working on an update of COVID protocols. And it's like, we have to write like update. It would probably be like version 8, but you just have to constantly keep tweaking it out, because we're learning stuff. Again, there's no manual again, and you just keep learning as, I hate to say learning as you go, but that's what we're doing. We're learning as we go. And that's worked well.
Well, even that's where in that chat it says, you know, and currently during all these changes, I guess, so you're putting out communications and you got to put the date, right? Revise this date, revise this date, revise this date. Because what the heck version is, it is, and I would say internally we're working on this, where we have one person who we've assigned, she's our command post, you know, because it's about getting information out on a weekly basis. But is it weekly, daily? You know, it's just so often. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, I see here, so Deanie wrote, we learned to be totally transparent with the clients. If they hear sick clients, go right to COVID. I was sick last week and my team had to communicate that what was wrong with me and not just to say sick. So yeah, I guess so if you are sick or when your clients are sick or when your staff members are sick, let them know what it is if it is not COVID, so people don't jump to conclusions and the rumor mill starts, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy stuff. Questions, anything else? Anyone else? Oh, Jordan, sure. Oh, are you unmuted? I think you're muted.
I was just trying to keep the bandwidth down, so I was just trying to type.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so I guess this could be a question for everybody, and it hasn't happened yet. I truly believe that salons are not the issue. I had Tammy come into the salon yesterday, and I explained to her we've been open for 5 weeks and we've had 911 people come into the salon for services. And the sanitation is good and the cleaning is good and all of our clients are happy. And it doesn't seem to be that we're necessarily the issue. However, with that said, should something happen, should somebody get sick, we know how, especially our community here in Rochester, we know how Rochester is, and they jump to conclusions and then they blast and they, you know, do crazy things. So how would you suggest going about, should somebody come in that's sick, should one of the employees get sick, how do we handle the reputation aspect? Because even though we have, like Jeff said, gotten just numerous amounts of responses of how clean we are, we're getting new clients because people are talking about how on top of it we are, and they've left their longtime stylists because they're not doing protocols. So we know we're doing the right things. We're above and beyond what the regulations are for New York State, and we know that New York State regulations are really tough. But should something happen, how do we go about maintaining our reputation of being a safe space if somebody gets sick in there?
That'd be a good question for Bonnie.
Oh, hi, Jordan. I'm happy to
Bonnie.
answer that because we are, like we've talked about, we are endlessly doing updates. And, one of the things that we had to manage just this week, because we've had some stylists that have not been feeling well, but we don't know that it's COVID. And so we kind of put some policies together. And one of the things that we said is any employee taking time off and not being at work due to illness is personal and confidential and will not be communicated to anyone for any reason unless it is at a positive COVID. So until we get the test results back that it's positive COVID, we are then mandated to communicate forth, according to CDC and state guidelines, the proper channels to manage that. But it's not an open conversation because at this point we've had 3 people that haven't been feeling well and all 3 of them came back negative. We've had clients that have called us and said that they weren't feeling well and they were going to go get a COVID test. And again, we couldn't do anything and create any interruption in business until we knew for a fact whether they were COVID positive. So we kept track. We, made the management team aware of what's going on, but we still have to manage business in a way. And, we are a business that can manage it. It's all appointment based. It's not like I walked into Kroger and then all of a sudden somebody says, hey, I was in Kroger on Thursday. They don't know who to contact, right? We do. So we know we're going to do the right thing if in fact it is to that point. Up until that point, somebody not feeling well, it goes to management. It's all managed confidentially. They go get a test and we take all of the precautions from there. And up to this point, we haven't had to do that. We haven't had anybody that's come back positive to have to worry about this. And, it's like Jeff and I are both, we ride motorcycles and it's not a matter of, if you go down, it's a matter of when you go down on a motorcycle, because the risk is high on a motorcycle. I think it's the same thing. Eventually we're all going to have an experience that either a staff member or a client is going to come to us with a positive test result, and we're going to need to manage it from there.
That's why it's so important to wear the mask in the salon and do all the protocols. If someone came in there with COVID, I think they'll go home with their COVID and they won't leave it behind, because we're all so safe. Something that we're doing, a friend of mine that's got salons here in Atlanta, it's a great idea, but she's actually set a relationship up with a clinic more outside the city so you can get in a little easier. So we can do quick turnarounds. I mean, you can negotiate your own deal. You can have tests shipped to a specific clinic and we can get the 48-hour turnaround, because I know we've had some that have gotten sick and or just not feel well. I don't know what's sick. Bonnie probably knows the correct terminology. Because sick, if you say sick, people think COVID, but it's just not feeling well, unwell.
I use unwell a lot instead of the word sick.
Yeah, unwell. And here it's been 7 days and he still didn't have it. And then he found someone that could do like an instant test. But it's, we can't just shut down for 7 days, 10 days because someone's got sniffles because they've got allergies or, mono, whatever the case may be. But we just have to do what we're supposed to do in the salons. Salons are cleaner than any place on earth right now. Better than a grocery store, every place. It's great. So we'll just keep people safe. Let the COVID stay out of our salons and show America that the salons, we are essential, we are professional, we're trained in this, and we can get through this.
Awesome. Janine, is there anything New York State wise that you?
So, well, 2 things, to echo what Bonnie said from an employee standpoint, any medical information needs to be kept confidential. So even if an employee tests positive for COVID and you have to follow the contact tracing or communicate with other employees that may have been exposed, you're not supposed to say who the employee is. Now in your workspace, everybody's going to know, right? But as the employer, you don't disclose that. And then certainly, with outside of that, but no, it's really, if a customer were to get it, you would contact the local Department of Health, and depending on the scenario, they may or may not want you to do anything with it, right? Because you could even, if a customer was in, you were masked, they were masked, they might have stopped in to pick up something, a retail item, short period of time. We've had situations and contact the Department of Health and they say, it's no worries, like, it's, you know, very, very minimal that there would be any exposure there. And I think from your business standpoint, Jordan, too, it would just be, you know, kind of what Jeff and Bonnie are saying. You're taking all the proper protocols, and the more you can articulate that, and you're doing the right thing and you have the right policies in place, that's, you know, that's what you focus on. And then communicate out only to the extent that you need to, and take whatever cleaning protocols need to. It's all very situation specific, because it depends on how long, you know, when the person was in your space, how long, and what the scenario, you know, what the situation was with masks and all of that. So.
Well, and how about, I'm looking in the chat here, is there's some questions, you know, are you still having the team members, are you asking them to test, kind of how often? And we had a reply, you know, we're mandating our employees get tested every 2 weeks, but just found out yesterday that the cost will no longer be covered. And the cost will be 150 to 170 a test. Is anyone experiencing this? Response, I've been testing every week. At this point, we have not been charged. But then Bonnie wrote, we only recommend tests if they have symptoms. However, if they're unwell, they will be off the books if the symptoms are COVID driven, and they will get tested. I guess for New York State, because for stylists, it's not mandatory to be tested any longer. So is that a choice? It's kind of a question. So for Jordan or Lynette or Lisa or Amanda, any of you, Deanie, are you making it mandatory for your salon, for your stylist to be tested every 2 weeks? We started working in phase 4, so we don't have to.
Oh, here I am. I'm not making it mandatory. I don't make it mandatory for my stylists, but they all volunteer to do it. And as a team, we've been consistently doing every other week. I don't, we have Excelis Blue Cross, and I don't know if I haven't gotten a bill or a charge for any tests. We're not, at this point in time, we don't have to even register to go get a test. We can just give them our birth date and we can go right through, because they have our information. But because we're getting a huge influx of college students, starting next week, we're going to have to actually book a time to go get a test. But there hasn't been any talk of having to pay for them at all. I don't know if I'll have to actually look into that to make sure Blue Cross, Excelis Blue Cross isn't going to start charging for tests.
Right. And then, so yeah, Lisa just wrote, Rite Aid is still stating at no charge. I guess this is the difficulty, right? When you look at promoting safety, promoting safe, you promote that and then just leave out the testing part if you're not testing, right? Because again, it's not mandatory. Or if you are doing it as a team, I guess that's, yeah, how would you or would you not promote that? I guess that's the question. Any other questions? So how about, you know, it is 10:40, almost 10:45. Really appreciate everyone joining us. I think one thing we know is if we do this, I think we'll go 2 hours, or not. I guess you can let us know. Give us some feedback. Give your salon consultants some feedback on what you found beneficial and what you'd like to see in the future from us as far as offering programs like this. To Bonnie, Jeff, Dale, Janine, thank you so much for being a part of this. To all of our people, thank you so much for being a part of this. And by all means, keep the feedback coming as far as what else you'd like, what other forums you'd appreciate, and stay safe, stay compliant. Whatever information you need, reach out, and we will certainly provide the best information we can. And we will also let you know where this recording ends up, whether it's on our website, whether it's on YouTube. We'll get that information out to you as well, okay? So have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to connecting again soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.